Welcome back, everybody, to A Musician and a Filmmaker. Today we are joined by punk rock legend Blag the motherfucking Ripper, Blag Dahlia of the Dwarves fame, and many other things that have made you a famous dude. How are you doing, Blag?
I feel strong. I feel great.
Amazing. And you have a new record, Jenkem. It's out on Greedy. Jenkem is, what would you say, Blag? Would you say it's a return to an earlier Dwarves sound?
Yeah, I mean, the last few Dwarves records were very kind of complex, sprawling, like multi-genre, crazy things. And this time we just figured we'd kind of knock one out. Everybody brought in a couple tunes and we just went for it. So yeah, this is a little bit of a harkening back to the old Dwarves, and we went for the super stark like 1970s bootleg looking cover, instead of doing our usual sort of naked photography deal, and the more set pieces and elaborate stuff. We're just like, no, let's just make this really punk. So that was kind of the idea.
It's funny when I saw once the album was announced and I saw the album cover. I think I'm not alone in thinking this, but I really thought that it was going to be like a reveal, like you were like the day before it came out. It's like psych titties everywhere.
Yeah,
But
I
I
know.
appreciate.
I think the way it's going to turn out is that it kind of sticks out for that reason because it doesn't have the usual imagery and all that stuff.
Mm.
So hopefully people will kind of, check this out and I don't know, you got to keep people guessing, right? You keep doing the same thing, even if what you do is cool, then you get stuck. So I like to change it up.
Totally, and change it up. You have certainly from concept album to this, like you can definitely feel that it's not that concept album doesn't have its fair share of rawness in it, but this one definitely feels very raw. So you all brought like ideas to this album to make this come to life. Was there ever a conscious decision like that you wanted to harken back to an older dwarf sound, or did that just sort of happen organically?
Yeah, pretty much from the beginning, that's what it was like. This is my friend Rollo.
Hey, Rollo.
um, yeah, it was kind of like that from the beginning. After making Concept, which had so many tracks on it, we even had an EP afterward of stuff that was another kind of interesting record. So that I really wanted to do a lot of genre exploration on that, everything from kind of pop punk female duet stuff to very noisy, weird soundscapes to garage rock, which is really where the Dwarves started way back in the 80s. And, you know, after that, it was just like, fuck, let's just knock out a record. And it was also our drummer Snoop Hawk had played a little bit on the on Concept Album and on Keep It Real, but hadn't really gotten a chance to show what he could do, because Josh Freese was there, and then he was with the Foo Fighters when this came up. So it was kind of a perfect chance to go, hey, let's just do it with the band, with the live band, and not make that kind of production set piece thing. And Snoop Hawk really killed it on this record. So that gives it a different sound, more kind of immediacy, and it was yeah, that was kind of the strategy with this one. Like, let's just make a punk record.
Nice. That's awesome. And yeah, the drumming really does stand out. And Snoop Hogg, like, correct me if I'm wrong, was he like a Dwarves fan originally as like a really young kid? Because I feel like I saw a photo of him. Is
Well,
this and then he
yeah,
then
there's even a video of when we met Snoop Hogg. He was 12 years old and he was at punk rock bowling with his mom. And he had always wanted to see the Dwarves. He was a really young Dwarves fan, but he could only go to an all ages thing. So getting to see us there, he was standing right in front and singing along and knew all the words to all the songs. So I kept handing the mic out there and he kept hitting his cues perfectly. Finally, I just brought him up on stage. So this kid's 12 years old. I'm crowd surfing and he's singing complete Dwarf songs from Blood, Guts, and Pussy and shit. So we always loved him and thought he was a really talented guy. And as the years went on, we'd see him here and there when we played shows in Arizona. And then at some point he said, "Hey man, I think I'm ready to play drums with the Dwarves." And I kind of threw cold water on it. I've played with a lot of good drummers and some not so good drummers, and I'm very picky. And I was like, man, let's not ruin it. We have this great moment.
yeah.
But he came in and he tried out and he was brilliant. And I was like, wow, all right. Yeah, he can play drums with us. So, he's been with us ever since. I feel really good about that. That's definitely one of those young generation coming up kind of magical moments. So it's great playing with him. And he's got a cool band too in Arizona called Get a Grip, and his own label called Criminal that puts out like hip hop records and different things. So he's a very creative guy.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's such a full circle kind of wholesome punk rock story of the
You
kid
wouldn't
who.
expect wholesome from the Dwarves, huh? Yeah. I started going to shows very early. I mean, I saw my first punk show when I was 14, and I know that feeling of being that kid and being at that show, and the excitement of it and the ways you feel about things, and people you really look up to. I remember seeing Frank Zappa at that age and just being fascinated, and then seeing punk bands, people like Black Flag and everybody, the Misfits and all these bands that I got to see as a kid. So it's yeah, that's how it should be. Yeah.
Totally, totally. And I think like what's really cool, and also like sort of on that same like wholesome sort of tip, is kind of like what the Dwarves is doing. It almost feels like it's the Dwarves is it was a band, but now it's like a community. And I think like with that inner sleeve in the Jenkem LP, it's like you can really just see how big this kind of Dwarves world is. You know?
Yeah, I think of us as the Wu-Tang Clan of punk. Like people come in, but they never leave. Just people go make money or live a life or do something, and so they'll come in and they'll go out. And that really makes me happy. Sergeant Saltpeter and I have been playing together since we were 14 and went to high school together. And he's got a song on this record. Me and Nick Oliveri met when I took Caius on their first tour. And he's still playing with me. He was such a brilliant bass player and such a great vocalist and songwriter. So yeah, I mean it's that really makes me happy. It's funny because people talk to me like, wow, it's like a revolving door. You must be really difficult to deal with. It's like it's a bunch of guys that have been around for 30 years. It's just various people. Even Snoop Dogg that isn't even 30 yet has been around for 22 years or something. So, it's just insane. There's a lot of loyalty from these guys, and I think it's part of why we Dwarves make great records in a way that other old punk bands don't, is because we let everybody write songs and we really let everybody's. I'm the producer, the kind of the ringmaster. I tie it together, and that's the continuity of it. But yeah, it really is sort of a dedicated group of friends, and you see it from that Craig Holloway illustration, people from all different eras of the group.
Totally. It's so cool. It's so awesome. And I like how Mad Lucas also made a return on this record.
She's
We Will
great,
Dare
man, from the
was such
666.
yeah. That was
She,
like We Will Dare was such an amazing track from concept album. Like it was something that I had. It's weird. It's like it felt familiar but also brand new. Like if that makes sense, because like
yeah.
it hit on things that I know that the Dwarves like are masters at, but the duet aspect of it just took it to a whole new place, and
Well,
it
thank
was
you.
really.
Yeah, the and that was funny too. We had that whole concept album, and I said to Andy now, who's like my production partner, and he sings a lot of the vocals, and he too writes songs for the Dwarves. I said, man, we did every genre on here. We got like down-tuned metal stuff. We got punk. We got hardcore. We got surf. We got garage. We've done everything here. And he looked at me and he said, no, you don't have a pop punk jam. And I was like, shit, you're right. We don't have a pop punk jam. So I had been working on a song called Lancaster Mennonite Girl that I wrote for my kind of alter ego guy, Ralph Champagne, who sort of does
Mhm.
all of the Americana kind of genres, this stuff like country and lounge and blues and whatever. And I said, this could be repurposed as a pop punk jam. So I had the chords already and I kind of knew what the vocal melody was and wrote this song. And then I thought, wow, like, and We Will Dare was sort of a comment on the whole cancel culture thing, which I know now
Mhm.
everybody has commented on a lot, and it kind of makes you part of like the right-wing manosphere, which I have no interest in. But it
Mhm.
was like everybody was getting canceled, and that to me it was kind of funny because the Doors, of course, have always been canceled since the very beginning. of this group, whether it was for violence or profanity or nudity or just general attitude, you know. So it's kind of like, welcome to my world. You know, everybody's getting canceled. And so I wrote this song, and then I thought, you know, if I sing this, then it's kind of an old man shaking his fist.
Mm.
Right around that time, I'd never met Mad Lucas. I'd heard her band 666, but she contacted me like, hey, we'd like to open for you guys. And I thought, wow, this is interesting. Like, right during this period when all the kind of say millennial aged people were canceling everybody, and
Hmm.
a few female acts that I had worked with a lot in the past that I was buddies with were like kind of trying to distance themselves from me, which was a little like, shit, man, really, you know.
Mm.
Along comes this young woman with a group who's kind of Gen Z, and she says, you know, I want to play with you. I want to do so. So I thought, okay, how can we play with this? So I brought her on to duet. And then and it turned into a great duet and a great video. She's got a great kind of screen presence and very beautiful, and people want to look at her. So all my sort of old Letcher fans were looking at this video like, where's this chick from? You know, and I'm laughing, and it kind of makes a comment on, you know, old people and young people and all these different things, you know, all in this one song. So I was very impressed with Matt. I hope to work with her more. She's a great singer and does a lot of really interesting stuff. So, and she just went to music school, so maybe she can teach me something about music. I don't know. So yeah, yeah, We Will Dare kind of made that kind of statement. And that was, you know, yeah, from concept. And so we brought her back for a song on this one called Too Messed Up to Mess Around, you know. But again, it's
Hmm.
more of kind of a straightforward rock and roll, glammy kind of song. Yeah, so hoping to see more of Mad.
I would love to see more of Mad. I think it's a really good fit, and also like the story that you've just told is it's like poetic in a way
Yeah.
because of all those
Things
reasons you
happen with the
said.
dwarves all the time that are very poetic and metaphorical, and it kind of is fascinating to me because this band's been breaking up since, you know, 1986 or whatever. You know what I mean? People
Right.
coming and going, and then coming back, and then going again, and then coming back, and people, you know, and genres changing. We started as a 60s garage band, became more like a hardcore band, then kind of helped to define what pop punk meant in the 90s, and then kind of just turned into every genre, you know. And it's funny because, you know, if you do that and you're a very popular band, it's like, wow, look at all the variety of this band. If you're us and you're kind of underground, then it's like, people's attitude shifts. It's like, well, I like that one song, but I hate this one. You know, it's like, well, dude, that means you like it. If you like one song, then you like something. You know, if you like three songs, but you hate another 10, it's like, well, shit, you like three songs, you know? So it's
Hmm.
just funny how it's all worked. There is a lot of poetry to it, and everything comes around again. If it's like everybody's always leaving the Dwarves, it's like, not really. Everybody leaves and comes back, you know? It's trippy.
It's awesome. But yeah, it is. It's funny though that when you say that you know there's with the variety and people are like, oh, you know, I like this song, but I don't like that song. I think that you know I can see people having that sort of mentality. But what's always been so awesome, I think, about the Dwarves music in that sense of each sort of song being like a different genre almost, or like a spin off of a genre, is that it gives the listener an opportunity to sink their teeth into something that maybe they aren't necessarily going in looking for. It's like when I was listening to Dwarves Must Die, I'm like, I didn't expect to hear some of these songs. And I was like, I wouldn't maybe I was looking for more of a punk rock album, but because these are here now, I'm like opening my ears to stuff that I otherwise may have closed the door on. So
Well,
I think that
I really
it's
appreciate that. I mean, that's always, of course, what I was going for because I like all kinds of different music.
mhm.
And, you know, it's interesting that you mentioned Must Die because that is not one of the more beloved Dwarves albums. And yet it is really a cult favorite. Especially like people from Japan will come to me and say, like, this is the most brilliant record, you know. I love Must Die. Like to me, there's a couple Dwarves records. I mean, I love all the Dwarves records. They're like my kids. I made them and I did it with my friends and they mean a lot to me. And I really don't think there are any bad ones. But, you know, there are ones that I find problematic in various ways. And then there are other ones where it's like, this is just perfect on its own terms. The first one like that was Blood, Guts, and Pussy, which was just like this statement of punk rock we're sticking this in your face. There's no background vocals. There's no production. There's just boom, you know. I think the next one like that was Young and Good Looking, which was like, no, this is like a pop punk record. Like, we're a punk band, but pop punk is popular now. And, you know, you like The Offspring, you like Green Day, you should like this record. So that record kind of works on its own terms. I think the next one like that was Must Die, because it was just this genre sprawl. It included, you know, people like, you know, the gangster rapper San Quinn lived on my block. I watched him grow up. I brought him into my house. I'm like, here, let's smoke a joint, do something, you know. And then, like, you know, Nash from Urge Overkill was an old buddy of mine. And it was like, well, I want to bring you in here too. And then, you know, I was friends with Dexter from The Offspring, and he very graciously came in. And this guy, super platinum star, great songwriter, and he's flying a plane around. You know, I was like, what are these different people doing on this record? You know, so Must Die to me was just this incredible record. And of course, I got Eric Valentine, who's one of the best producers of all time, you know, who I had met as a young guy, and I believed in him early, and I brought him business, and I'd done stuff with him. And he's the kind of guy that just always appreciated that. And when a guy like that will sit in a studio with you for a month and make that record, it's just because he's an artist and he wants to do something interesting. And, you know, he's working with other people where there's a lot of demands of record companies and management and egos and insanity. And he just came in right in the middle of a busy career and made that record with me. And it just means so much to me. And I think the next one like that that really works on its own terms is Concept Album, where it was just like, okay, this is another just genre sprawl, but adding even more genres. You know, so I mean, I think that's kind of the beauty of the Dwarves, and it's worked for us and it's worked against us. Like with so many punk bands, it's like they made one kind of inspired album in the 80s or the 90s, and that's the only one anyone wants to hear any material from. Any follow-up they did sucks, and nobody wants to hear the songs. And so people just aren't used to a band like the Dwarves, where it's like, here's 18 records and they all are good and they're all kind of interesting and there's all something you can find here. Oh, and incidentally, pretty much nobody bought these. You know, it's just there just is no other band like that, you know. So I'm very proud of that. And I'm glad there's people like you who go like, "Ooh, Must Die, that was interesting." You know, it's like, yeah, you know.
Totally.
This band exists because of people like that. You know.
That's awesome. It's yeah, a very harmonious relationship you have with the listeners, and it's like, it's oh, sorry, my camera does this from time to time. It'll be back soon. There we go.
Kind of psychedelic. Like when
but let's talk about.
It's like when Rollo wanders in, you know.
Yeah, exactly. You get lost in the
People
fur.
need to get a look at Rollo. You know, he's really.
Hey, Rollo.
He's a special guy.
He looks like a special guy. It's actually my cat's birthday today.
Is that right? You know his birthday.
Yeah, I know. I have two cats, and I know both their birthdays, and yes, I do celebrate them. Yes.
I love that. Yeah, cats are a big part of the Dwarves. We were like a band of cat guys, which is weird, too. You'd think we'd be like a dog band, you know. I think
right.
Snoop Hogg has dogs, but also a cat. But the rest of us were always
all cat
very
people.
odd. Even Nick Oliveri, a cat guy, you know.
That's so funny. Well, you know what though? I think cats are more punk rock in a way. Like their spirit is like
they're
more
independent.
Punk rock,
they do what they want. They don't.
They do what they want
all the time, and
exactly.
They'll
tell you to fuck
themselves.
off. Like
yeah,
you know.
And there's people they don't like. They just avoid them, and you know.
Yeah.
Dog is just. You know. I mean, I love doggies too.
Dogs are great too. Yeah.
You know, and this is what's funny about dog and cat people, isn't it? Like dog people, a lot of them feel like they're cheating on their dog if they like a cat. And they tell you, I don't like cats. It's like cat people are always like, oh, I love doggies. I just have some cat. And it's like, they're both furry creatures that love you that have four legs. I mean, what is the big difference? You know,
yeah.
But if people will hate cats, they despise them. You know, it's like, really? What did they do to you that made you despise them so, you know?
It's weird. It feels like it's one of those things that's just like, you know, like skateboarders and like rollerbladers, like they never, you know, like there's no good reason that they hate each other, but and like snowboarders and skiers, it's like for some reason they just like it's like that's lame. What the version you're doing is lame. It's like
you always hate the thing that's closest to you. Atlanta hates Athens, you know. Milwaukee hates Chicago, you know. Boston hates New York. It's like it's all the same shit, you know what I mean? Yeah.
Totally, totally. So let's talk about Jenkem. So let's talk about the album title. So Jenkem, for those that don't know, well, I maybe I should pass this over to you,
It's pretty
Blag, to
much the most
explain.
low rent inhalant you can get. It's like doing an inhalant if you're too cheap to buy paint or roach spray, you know. It's just shitting into a bucket and then snorting the methane that comes up, you know.
It's literally getting high on your own farts.
Literally getting iron like a South Park episode. Yeah.
Yeah, that's so. What is the connection to Jenkem that you
Snoop Dogg,
feel?
you know, he's younger, so he goes on the internet and looks up this shit. And we're
Yeah,
sitting in the van, and he's like, "Hey, man, Jenkem," you know, and it sort of became the watchword of a particular tour that we were on. And so when I made this record, I thought I want to make this like a low rent fucking punk rock record, you know, with a low rent cover and a low rent title and a not, you know what I mean? It's you know, so that was kind of the beauty of it.
it's so funny. And I saw an Instagram video that you posted, I think, a couple days ago, where you were talking about some of the album cover variants, the limited edition ones, and they came with little freebies in there. Like there was like a Coke mirror, and did you
John
not?
Gentili from Punk News creates these whole worlds. He makes these parody covers.
Yeah.
Very funny. I have one here. Hang on. You know, this one was a takeoff on Damage, which is
Oh
my
yeah,
most
Black
favorite
Flag.
record,
Yeah,
but he uses our dwarf guy, you know, and
that's
then it's like a
awesome.
Jenkem special edition. And then they also come with all this stuff. Like there was a Bad Brains takeoff, you know,
That's
and then
awesome.
he actually put some kind of chocolatey Jenkem in there. Or he has like, yeah, there's like a button and like he did more stuff in there. Oh yeah, there's like the Coke mirror,
The Coke mirror.
Doris Coke mirror.
It's so funny.
Because now Coke will kill you, which is an odd thing. I keep it edge with the dwarves, you know. So
That's
I mean,
awesome.
it's just very creative guy from punknews.org who loves the band and does these things with me. I just think he's brilliant.
So cool.
And it helps to make the other tiers of the record more special. Instead of it just being like some cool colored vinyl, which is cool enough, it's like,
Mm.
oh, you get this too, you know, these parody covers. So very brilliant guy.
Very cool. And are those still available on the Dwarves website, or are those
I
sold
think
out?
they sold out. I
They
mean,
sold
part
out.
of what makes them special is that they are limited. You know, you got to kind of jump
Yeah.
on it, and then you get, you know, basically like Jenkem now, you can get it on the shiny black vinyl. I think. I think there's some. Our distributor MVD made a variant. I think it was Green Smoke. I think some of those are yeah, out in stores, so that would be the variant you could get. But if you want the super special Dwarves extra tier stuff, I think it's all gone. I mean, I even sell a couple test pressings, and I don't do what some labels do, which is make 100 test pressings. I
Mm.
make 15, you know. I get a couple, the band gets a couple, and I put five out there for people just for kind of a Willy Wonka random thing. And so the people who did
Yeah.
that got all of these different prizes in there, and the whole band signed it and everything, you know. Try and make it real special.
That's awesome. That's super cool. So
And it
let's
costs a
dive into
lot, so
so.
I make a lot of money on it. So that's cool too.
Hey, even better. Even better. That is a win-win situation.
Yeah, the greed. That's the greedy part of greedy records. Yeah.
There you go. It's all in the name. So let's talk about some of the tracks on Jenkem. So we start off with the track "Confused," and I got to say, I probably should have mentioned already that normally this show is hosted by two people, myself and Greg is horribly sick today, so that's why he's not here. But he is here in spirit, and he did listen to the record, and he loved it. He wanted me to specifically say that Confused as an opener is amazing, and it's so funny.
Thank
And
you.
it's just the perfect way to start this whole thing off.
Yeah, I mean, it's and again, it's kind of that element of old guy shaking his fist at things, you know, because and I hope we do it in such a ridiculous way that people realize that it's tongue in cheek. You know, a lot of these concepts, like when I started doing stuff, I would just do whatever's ricocheting around in my head, and I never
Mhm.
tried to be outrageous. It just ultimately becomes outrageous because I think other people do such boring shit and they censor their own thoughts, and I don't censor mine to, to the degree that I can that I can just purely give you what's in my id there, right?
Yeah.
So, there used to be these, ow, shit.
That's the punk
They'll
rock
get you
attitude of the
sometimes,
cats.
yeah. But it's like so a song like Confused, the lyrics are like, "Hey, I'm gay. Ain't that what the kids all say? Hey, I'm they. I don't know if that means I'm gay. Hi, I'm bi. I got to give it all a try." I'm sort of mocking this current,
Mhm.
gender fluidity, but I love that. I mean, the Dwarves are for all of the
Mhm.
misfits and the kooks and the nuts, and I love it. You know what I mean? Like, that doesn't bother me. I'm not sitting here
Yeah.
thinking this is bad, but I just thought it was such a funny juxtaposition because you say those lyrics, and then when you get to the chorus, it's just, "I'm confused. I'm so confused. I don't know what to do." It kind of pokes fun at this whole modern idea of nobody really knows what gender they are. It's like, well, most of us pretty much do, but okay,
Mhm.
whatever you're
Yeah.
doing. So yeah, so I'm proud of that song, and yeah, it's kind of a statement to stick it right up front.
Yeah.
But I thought this is funny. Usually the front song would be something like the second song on this record, which is "We Are the Scene," where it's more like,
Mm.
"We're the Dwarves, we own shit, let me show you how it's
Right.
done," or whatever. I would really start things with, "This is my statement about what's up with the Dwarves." And instead, I put that second and just started with, "I'm confused," because it was more like, again, a punk record, and that track sounded a little more modern to me, like a little more like, yeah, let's just have some noise and go for it and scream some shit and talk about the world as it is right now. And then it
Totally.
kind of gets followed up with "We Are the Scene." That's like, "We're the Dwarves, we're still the most powerful band. Here's this catchy thing, that you can remember it, and here we go. Which has always kind of been a side of the Dwarves, like, here's your catchy, memorable song about how great we are.
I love it. The self promotional like sort of aspect of the dwarves is always awesome to hear.
Yeah, that to me is the hip hop influence. Like most guys, hip
Mm.
hop influence comes from like they put their ball cap on sideways or they go yo.
Hmm.
And I never felt very comfortable with that. But it was like my hip hop influence comes out in like mythologizing the dwarves. And that actually precedes hip hop, stuff like Bo Diddley or whatever.
Hmm.
People who make themselves a character in the song. I always liked that. And I think Frank Zappa did that too. You sort of make yourself a character in your song as opposed to being like, "Here's a song about how my girlfriend broke my heart." It's like, "Here's a song about how great the Dwarves are. It's what you're listening to right now.
And it's like a feedback loop with the audience because it's like when you do those songs, like the people that are there, they already share this sentiment. Like they're there to
Right.
see you guys, so they're like, you are the fucking best band in the world.
Yeah.
And then when you're like, we are the fucking best, we are the fucking dwarves, and then it just hypes. I mean, I would imagine it hypes you guys up when the fans are going crazy for you guys too. So it's like it's just feeding off of each other.
Yeah, I mean, one thing that always bothered me in rock and roll, and it's particularly well done, the bigger bands get, is, the false humility. They would
Mm.
never talk about themselves in a song. Bruce Springsteen doesn't go, "I'm Bruce Springsteen and I'm the shit." It's more like,
Mm.
"I'm a moral force for good in our society, and here's my song about, what people should do. And especially in punk, there was always all those like, "This is right and this is wrong, and this is how people should behave." And it's very self-righteous, but then you don't mention yourself at all. And then it's like, meanwhile, behind the scenes, they're on their phone to the manager. Our billing isn't big enough, and we didn't make enough money here. And what do these
Mm.
guys think they are? I mean, so that's all going on behind the scenes. Springsteen's showing up in a limousine. I don't mean to
Mm.
pick on him. It's just these people cultivate images as like working class heroes. You've been riding around in a limo for 50 years. I mean, please, it's so there's always that dichotomy in rock and roll, isn't there? And with the Dwarves,
Mm.
and people have said to me, like, "You guys are so egotistical and it's so stupid and nobody even cares. And it's like, well, that's part of the humor of it. We're not afraid to say we love us and think we're great. And
Mm.
Most of the world is ignoring it. And, I'm not covering it up. My ego's out there. And other people's ego is expressed through, like, I'm going to get on the phone with management and tell them all the shit I want. And there's going to be somebody
Hmm.
behind the scenes pushing my ego. But then when I talk, it's all going to be sweetness and light about how society should be and, kumbaya, it's like, oh shit,
Yep.
we don't, with us, what you see is what you get.
Totally. Absolutely. That's definitely one of the many reasons why I love the Dwarves.
And we
And
love
we are
you.
the Well, thank you. We Are the Scene is an absolute ripper, and I remember you guys came to Toronto not too long ago. I remember you guys played that, and I was like, "What? What is this? No, this is a new song." And yeah, it slaps. And I could see it being track one, but I do really appreciate you putting "Confused" as track one because it is it's also a ripper. Like the riffage on that, and like just the sort of hardcoreness of it, and your
Yeah, I
vocals as
lost
well.
sleep
Like,
on that. I
yeah.
lost sleep on that. Because it felt like it should be "We Are the Scene," and then I was like, you
Yeah.
know what? I'm not going to do what I always do. So yeah, you got to mix it up here and there. Love going to Canada. Love Canada generally. The people there are so great, and the it's so fun playing there. And I always bag on them about their bands, which is fun too. I've infuriated so many guys in Canadian bands by bagging on their bands. You get real mad, But for the record, Canada is like a bastion of sanity, and just wonderful, wonderful people, and so much great, like, sort of comedy and all that, like way beyond. I think like all the cool people went into comedy there instead of music, right? That'll be my insult.
You might be right about that.
But
Yeah, no, I
Canada,
mean,
and especially now, you see it in very bold relief with America
mhm.
having lost its mind. It's like, okay, we right to the north, we see an example of people who are just like us and talk like us and look like us, and yet
Mhm.
there's some semblance of sanity there. Imagine that, how does that happen, Yeah.
Well, I'm glad that we can be, that sort of, I guess, a good example to y'all down there, because yeah, things are a little crazy down there, and there's not too much like political talk on this record, but there is a song that kind of adds to that, which is Melania.
Yeah, I mean, again, like, I spend a lot of my time sitting around thinking about the state of the world and the state of politics. I just don't put that into my music. But I
Hmm.
had this idea for a song where it was like, well, how would the Dwarves comment on the current thing? And of course, it was Melania clearly hates Donald and she needs my dick. So that's the slant that we take in that song. It's like, hey, Melania, we know you're doing what you please now, so you can just come hang out with me.
I love it. It's so funny. Against all better judgment, I started watching the stupid Millennium movie on Amazon Prime.
Wow.
My God, I watched like 5 minutes of it, and I literally wanted to kill myself. I was like, this is the most like just shallow. I don't know. I'm not going to go on about it,
She's
but
an
like it's
imbecile. She's an imbecile, and then there's this sort of, mysterious modeling career, which was probably more like, being a high-end call girl or whatever. And
probably.
it's kind of like, it's funny too, because I've always felt there was kind of a stereotype. I mean, it's always easier to be good looking than bad looking in life. We all
Mm,
know this. But there's always that stereotype about, well, there's women who are really good looking. She must be really stupid and vacant and just,
mhm.
out for the guy's money. And with her, you get a perfect example of that.
It's
Like,
exactly what it
wow,
is. Yeah.
here's an ignoramus that just wanted this guy for his money and despises him. And she's good looking, so she can do it. It's like, it's rare that people are so fit so neatly in a box like that, you
Yeah.
know. And
And
for
it's
the
like,
record, I mean, I would fuck Melania, but I'd rather fuck Ivanka. But either way, it's just very loathsome people.
mhm.
It's yeah. So that's sort of as close as the dwarves get to a political statement.
Political song. That's hilarious. Another song that Greg wanted me to mention is "Bad Drugs," because he thinks that it should be like the theme song for Dare,
Yeah, because it's coming from somebody who's pushed drugs a lot. I mean, we have a record called Free Cocaine. I've had innumerable songs, Drugstore and Get Up and Get High and just
Mhm.
all these, pro recreational drug songs, which I always took as like, come on, man, like I'm not the guy you're supposed to health. It's like this
Yeah.
is hedonistic, id-driven music. Have some fun with it. But again, in that spirit of being contrary to things, I was like, maybe I should write a song about the drugs I don't like. Because I see everybody on Adderall. It's like speed that makes you do your homework or
Yeah.
work overtime at your job. It's like, what a horrible idea. It's like in the 60s, it was like, hey, man, tune in, take some acid and expand your consciousness. Now it's like, it's like we'll get more work out of you if you do this drug. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
Be kind of fucked up. The whole it's like and then what it also mentions like Ritalin, which was the drug that they gave kids when I
Mhm.
was a kid about like so that you wouldn't
Like be distracted and stuff.
yeah, be distracted,
Yeah.
or it's like sort of ADHD kids,
Yeah.
and then fentanyl, which is of
Mhm.
course the worst drug of all. You do is die on it. It's like, hey, I don't want to,
Yeah.
it's one of the lines in the song. Like, I don't want this drug. Not
Yeah.
interested in dying. Um, so yeah, bad drugs. Yeah,
It's
there's
so
some
funny.
great songs on this record, but really the hit is
Mhm.
Damned If I Do, which is like sort of the mid-tempo 90s, 80s kind of rock jam, with kind of a traditional guitar solo. So we made the kind of Hollywood video about that, and that's coming out June 5th. Bunch of chicks, and it's like mid-tempo radio accessible jam, which I thought was funny on this record because it's mostly just a punk record, very straightforward. But
Mhm.
Damned If I Do kind of sounds like the hit to me. And a woman, Kate Vargas, sang that with me. She's a really good singer-songwriter that works with Eric McFadden a lot, and so yeah, again, I just feel very lucky that I get to work with such great people and make interesting records and have fun and have people like you kind of dissect it, listen to the song, think about it.
It's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. It's a fantastic record, and I'm very happy that you guys put it out, and it's relatively soon after your other output with concept album and Keep It Real. So I mean, I think a lot of Dwarves fans were kind of like a little bit shocked, like whoa, like because Keep It Real did feel like another album. So it's like holy
Yeah, and
shit,
on
there's
top of
another
that,
Dwarves.
last year we did a release of something that had been recorded in '89.
Right? Yeah,
So for those
Sunshine.
people who were like, you know what, the dwarves got too fancy for themselves. I just like the old punk stuff from back in the day. It's like, well, we gave you that too. We
Yep.
gave you like the sort of pre-version of Blood, Guts, and Pussy. So it had a lot of great photos from that session. And then it also had, us live in the studio just playing those songs with no overdubs, which I think was interesting for Blood, Guts, and Pussy fans because that was, even though it was a very primitive album, it was done in that way of like record and then overdub. And Sunshine, Lollipops, and Rainbows was just, okay, you want the primitive dwarves? Here you go. It's exactly what we sounded like in 1989. So quit bitching. So it's like, yeah, I really try and deliver everything people are going to want. I don't like it when bands close the door on their old stuff and say, we've grown and we're different. It's like, well, you can grow out, but don't die from within. We'll always be a hardcore band. We'll always be a simple band and everything else. We can be more complex too, but on the same record, you can do different things. So on this one, Damned If I Do is kind of your mid-tempo radio hit, and Confused is you're like, here, you want some sprawling weird punk about exactly how people are viewing their dicks and pussies right now? Okay, I got that for you too. Whatever you need. Yeah.
I also want to mention that Rex Everything, Nick Oliveri, sounds more unhinged than he maybe ever has on this
Such a
record.
genius. Yeah, he wrote a song just so steeped in hatred called I Wish You Were Dead. And you just feel the reality of it. I mean, there's no one like Nick. There's no one with that intensity of vocal. There's no better rock and roll bass player, I don't think. and he's such a tasty like musician, but at the same time really has that, which I don't have, that sort of understanding of hardcore and thrash and metal. For me, it's like I play around with that stuff because I like the variety, but he really feels it and is it. And at the same time, you hand him a song like Last Chance Lily, which was written by Saltpeter, and
Mm.
he just picks up on it. He's just a very natural musician. But then his thing, he's got an incredible way with words, the strange way that he puts phrases together. I just always loved the way he sang and wrote. And then in the bonus, you get like the best bass player. So it's great playing with Nick. And to us, he's wrecks everything. And, he's just like, he's the guy. They're really a genius. Fresh Prince of Darkness played guitar on this one. He hasn't been touring with us as much, so we're bringing in other people. But again, this is just a guy who can write, play. Uh, he can just. I'm really glad to be in a band where everybody writes songs and everybody can do things. I think a lot of bands operate more like I'm running the show. And I think what keeps the Dwarves interesting is that I'm kind of running the show, but not really. It's like everybody and what they do, and then I kind of aggregate the show.
It's fantastic. It's like I was saying before. It feels like a family, like a community, and it's great. It's almost like a TV show. You're like on certain seasons, these other characters were introduced. And it's like then the next season, maybe some characters were not there, but then at the end, now all the characters you loved from season 2 are
Right.
back. So it's
Yes,
like
yes, that's a great way of thinking of it.
it's
I'm just looking toward the finale now that I'm 80 years old or whatever the fuck I am. It's you got to keep that in the mirror too.
mm. Well, what are there foreseeable plans for what's next? I mean, this album has just come out, so I mean, I
Yeah,
don't.
just gonna tour a bunch, run around. We're playing with the Exploited in September. We're going to Europe, June and July. A lot of festivals, Hellfest, Obscene Extreme. Some more thrash festivals, and then more kind of garage festivals like Shock and Reduno, and just running around. Playing shows. And then I'm making, I got a Ralph Champagne record coming out. It's very kind of loungy and female vocal heavy. It's coming out for Christmas, has some Christmas songs. So just always a lot of variety from this camp. I think there should be a Dwarves movie at some point. I just have to figure out how to do that so that it's interesting to people. You
If you
know,
can figure out how to make Highland Falls into a movie as well, that would be great.
Dude, I know that should be a Quentin Tarantino thing. Yeah, so that's my last book, Highland Falls, which is like the follow-up to Nina, kind of my female character. Again, very id driven, kind
Mm.
of based on the sort of mean goth chicks I knew growing up and then crazy shit they do. And yeah, just trying to stay creative, keep making interesting stuff and not worry too much about who's consuming it, but just try and swing for the fences every time and make a great product, just for the hell of it.
Keep riding till the wheels come off, man.
That's it.
I'm really stoked to hear this new Ralph Champagne. I loved the previous album. I even loved the Christmas stuff. It was great.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, those Christmas songs are on here, those slightly different versions. And then, yeah, some loungy stuff. Petra Hayden did a lot of singing on this. She's a great female vocalist. And really, Tom Ayers and Andy Carpenter, my production guys, have helped a real lot. There was again, it's just a bunch of great players and interesting songs, and it all comes to fruition that way.
Amazing. Well, Blag, thanks so much for taking the time to talk to us, to me. Greg's sick. Hopefully, he gets better soon. But it's always a blast talking to you and getting a little bit of an insight into the mind that created or had a hand in creating
Pleasure,
such
buddy.
amazing music. Yeah,
Send me a link to this so I can check it out, and we'll keep
absolutely.
posted.
Well, yeah, I honestly can't say thanks enough, and hopefully you guys end up coming back to Toronto at some point in the
Oh,
future.
absolutely. We love Canada, and we shall return. And it's
Amazing.
pronounced Toronto for some reason.
Toronto.
I don't
Yeah,
know. It's
exactly.
like
Yeah,
Toronto.
yeah.
Okay.
They made a
I'll
movie
say it
with
however.
Kevin Hart called The Man from Toronto, and every single time they say Toronto, they say Toronto, and like
Oh,
everyone's
really?
like, "You make a movie
No,
called The Man from
nobody
Toronto?"
says it that way. Everybody goes
Nobody's- yeah,
Toronto.
Toronto, yeah. It's like the movie Tron, but with an O at the end. Toronto.
That's it. All right, bud. We'll see you soon. Thanks.
Right on, man. Rock and roll. Take it easy.
Bye.